Grimwick was the first to regain consciousness. The room that they were in seemed to be inside of a giant mausoleum, carved out of the rock, with iron bearings that seemed to struggle to hold up the cave from caving in on itself. A few lanterns cast the shadows in the greenish glow. Large archways held what seemed to be tombs. The four of them were at the center of this giant space, and they were all tied up. Grimwick's head was throbbing from the magic blast that Professor Crinkle hit him with. She only landed it because he was caught off guard. That cheery disposition was so unassuming. And it wasn't until each student took a bite of her treat did Grimwick realize that something was wrong. Grimwick knew while Vine was in the crypt, this was the perfect time for them to escape, but for Professor Crinkle, she must have thought this was a perfect time to enact her own plan. And judging by Grimwick's surroundings, it was a good one. Professor Crinkle seemed to be preparing something. Grimwick intended to find out what it was. "Hey, what are you doing, pumpkin butt?" Grimwick yelled, trying to wake the others in the speech. Crinkle couldn't hear him anyway because of the Norbert spell, but he tried anyway. "Oh, the cat is the first to wake. Goody. I was hoping this would be all done with before any of you woke up." "And what would that be?" Grimwick yelled, kicking at the ropes. "You'll find out soon enough, Cat. Soon enough." Did she just answer his question? This wasn't good. How much did she know? "You can hear me?" Grimwick asked. "Yes, Cat, I can hear you," she spat. "How?" "Well, you do talk quite a bit, and I suppose it has to do with that spell that Vine placed on you." "What spell?" "The one that makes you act like a cat that you appear to be. You seem to be a summon of Norbert's of some kind. For any time we moved too far away, you simply teleported right back on top of him." So she didn't know anything. She just assumed that Vine probably gave Norbert a magical cat. "What are you going to do with us?" Grimwick asked. "Oh, I won't be doing anything. My part is nearly finished. I think it will be all answered for you very soon." And a third voice came in, Penelope's. In a hushed tone, she whispered to Grimwick, "Keep her distracted, Grimwick. I'm almost through the ropes." Grimwick could do that, so he smiled. "I thought you said the faculty couldn't hurt students." "They can't," Crinkle said. "But I'm not the one who's hurting you. The Muffet only had a sleeping agent, and I won't be the one to kill you." "Oh, don't look so alarmed, Cat. It's for a good cause." "But you were Norbert's favorite teacher." Yes, I suppose. And he was a student I was rather fond of, but more in the way you find a lost puppy charming. But like any lost puppy, sometimes they wander the wrong way. Grimwick could hear a sniffle, and the ropes strained behind him. Norbert must be awake now, too, and he must have heard her words. Norbert had confided to Grimwick that Crinkle was the only one that was even remotely nice to him on the school. Her words must have stung. "All right, the ropes are off," Penelope yelled, and all the ropes dropped. Grimwick rolled forward with claws extended. Penelope and Red assumed battle stances, and Norbert just slowly got to his feet. Grimwick said, "Let's get out of here. She can't hurt us, right? And I have no doubt that the creature's coming for us." "Oh, no, dears, you aren't leaving." And she cast a circle of pink mist that seemed to be engulfing them like a constrictor. "The head mistress prefers her meals awake. So be good little meals and stay put." The pink mist was coming closer. It smelled of sleep. Soon it would be on them, and they would all be back under that spell, and only to wake to be eaten to whatever this monster was. Penelope began to swirl her hands, and formed a bubble of wind. "It's a sleeping gas. I can hold off the wind for a while, but Grimwick is right. We need to get out of here, and we need to break her concentration." "Oh, send me," Grimwick said, jumping. "Norbert, throw me through the smoke." "That won't work," Red said. "The mist is too deep, and no one can throw you that far. But I can launch you with a rock spell." Grimwick's eyes widened. "Ooh, I like that. We just gotta figure out where she is." It was Norbert who burst into tears. "Why, Professor Crinkle, why are you trying to kill us?" "Oh, dearie, I didn't want to. I just had to. And you keep getting in my way." Grimwick felt the ground shake from his feet like a trap door. A spring fired him out of the ground. He was flying through the pink mist. He held his breath with his claws outstretched. He flew out of the smoke. Red had aimed it perfectly. He landed on Crinkle's face, and he began to use his claws that he was given. She yelled and tried to pull him off, and when she did, her scarred face was as boiling with anger. She wound up another spell. "I can't hurt students, but I can certainly hurt you, Cat." A gust of wind hit Crinkle. She toppled over the earth that seemed to rise beneath her ankles. The professor landed on her back, and she tipped over like a tortoise that couldn't seem to get up. Penelope and Red were smiling, each giving each other a high five. Grimwick ran up to them. Together the students ran for the exit. The archway that seemed to lead out of here was almost in reach. The students were breathing heavy now. Just as they were upon the door, they stopped dead in their tracks. The monster appeared. And now it was almost a full woman, still with her stringy hair, her long fingernails, and she was drooling like a wolf. Creature seemed to grow fuller every time they saw it, its features almost human. Its breath was heavy, and through its rotten teeth it smiled and said, "Students." It moved its hands up. An emerald glow emitted from her hand. Then a gust of wind smacked it in the face. It seemed shocked. Then rocks began to be hurled at it. The students were fighting back, but the creature was not as fragile as it was before, but it was certainly feeling these blows and growing irritated by them, and the students were now no longer scared. They were going to fight. Grimwick conjured some flames and tried to aim at her robes, hoping to ignite them again. The constant barrage might have worked, but the creature just grew more and more annoyed. Then it let out a scream and pushed back the winds, the rocks, and the flames. The creature then went into double speed. It was standing over on top of them now and extended a punch with a blue aura that sent Penelope flying. Next it struck Red and Norbert. Its hand glowed emerald again as it reached for Grimwick with its toothless grin. Then Grimwick could feel the pull of his tether and was teleported back on top of Norbert. Norbert was flat on his back, arms flailed out. Penelope and Red seemed hurt too, but they staggered back to their feet. The creature straightened its head and approached them again. It was like it had seen what their best was and knew that these students were no match. Penelope shot some more slices of wind and Red continued to hurl smaller rocks. Grimwick chucked some tiny sparks at the creature. It seemed to be laughing at them as it got closer. Both arms were extended now and it prepared a magical blast with that emerald energy. Grimwick wasn't sure it would kill them, but if a small strike like that seemed to put them out, this would be hard to come back from. The students tried harder. Red erected a stone bunker, but it could only get a few inches off the ground. Red and Penelope gave it all they could. Norbert didn't even try. Grimwick hoped that he got a summoner like those two in his next life instead of this lousy Norbert. Grimwick put his paws together, hoping to summon some of that white flame again. He yelled, straining his muscles, but it was no good. The monster fired her blast. It was like a wave of dense smoke traveling as fast as a gushing river. Then a tingling sensation came over Grimwick, like the same one when the fire happened, but it seemed more distant. The creature's blast of roaring chaos was almost upon them. It was certainly death. Then silence. The emerald light washed over them in every direction, and a thin white bubble had formed and was holding back the monster's attack. It was Norbert who began to scream. His arms were outstretched, and his body was shaking, and his eyes glowed white-hot. Then all the sound came back, and his eyes returned back to their normal shade. The attack stopped, and the bubble burst. Norbert collapsed to his knees. Red, Penelope, and even the monster seemed stunned. But that moment was fleeting. Norbert collapsed, exhausted, and tears were beginning to form. And to the monster it seemed that attack took no energy at all. Once more the monster smiled. Now they were truly out of tricks. But Norbert put his arms out. Penelope, Red, stay behind me. With any luck, my body will be the one that takes the hit, and you two can try to make a run for it. Shut up, big guy. Just make another bubble, Grimwick hissed. Tears and sweat slid down Norbert's face. I'm sorry, Grimwick. I can barely hold my arms up. I think this is it for me. The next blast came with a deafening roar. The energy basked them all in the green light. Grimwick felt it too. Exhaustion. There was nothing more for them to do now but just watch as this wave passed them over. The light got too bright and Grimwick had to close his eyes, and then the ground shook and the light no longer burned. Standing between them and the monster was Vine. Her hand had magical steam coming from it. These students fall under my protection. I do not take my responsibility lightly. Grimwick almost cried along with the students. The key word here is almost. But still, he never thought he'd be so relieved to see Vine.